So we gathered some articles here, and we want the kitty point of view on them. So they're very much in your wheelhouse. Jay, do you want to contextualize this video that we're about to watch?
Sure. So, I mean, all the content we'll be digging through today is very common advice for women, especially in regard to fat loss, and we'll be digging into some other very related topics. And so the title is my top 7 reasons intermittent fasting is invincible for women. So
let's give it a go. See what she has to say.
In midlife, I've got 7 reasons why you should consider time-restricted feeding or intermittent fasting as part of your health plan. I'm Dr. Mary Claire Haver, board-certified OBGYN and culinary medicine specialist. These are evidence-based findings specifically done on females in perimenopause or menopause. Number 1, intermittent fasting improves weight loss. Number 2, intermittent fasting improves belly fat or visceral fat. Number 3, intermittent fasting decreases cortisol levels. Number 4, intermittent fasting improves glucose intolerance. Number 5, intermittent fasting protects against age-related memory decline. Number 6, intermittent fasting improves liver function. Number 7, intermittent fasting improves your lipid profile and cholesterol levels. If you want to learn more about how intermittent fasting can improve your health, check us out at galvestondiet.com. Like and follow for more tips.
That was painful in the ears. Kitty, what is your experience with intermittent fasting along with your clients' experience intermittent fasting?
I've never actually tried this, but, if women were actually tracking their food, eating adequate calories, getting enough protein, getting enough of the right nutrients in, lowering stress, other areas of stress in their life, potentially if they had a period of time where they weren't eating, it might be okay. But I think every single woman that I've ever worked with and myself, we would fast, but then we'd also be not eating enough calories, not eating enough protein, not getting the right nutrients in. So it was just this storm for, undernourishing your body. We'd also combine it with over-exercising. So of course it helps with weight loss because all you're doing is just putting yourself in this massive calorie deficit and in this stressed state. Of course, will probably initially reduce some belly fat because, again, you're in a calorie deficit. But I found when I did it over years, yes, I felt good at the start because I was running on these stress hormones. But then in time, I always try and describe it to women and sort of how it makes sense to me is, you've got this body. It's like a Ferrari. You want to put the right fuel in, you want to put the right oil in, you want to give it enough of everything that it needs. And when you are constantly not eating enough, you're not getting the right nutrients in, you're stressing yourself with so many other things like women. It's like we live in this stressful world, like social media, kids, work. It just compounds this stress. So your body's not like a car. Like if you don't put enough fuel in a car, it just stops. Your body doesn't stop. It has these built-in mechanisms to survive. So it will create fuel, using a process called gluconeogenesis. So it's breaking down your fat and your muscle, but this is very stressful on your body. So your body will always prioritize survival over things like reproduction and digestion and all these other things. And so then I started to experience all these symptoms, like the digestion, the constipation, because my body's going, I need to survive. So that's been my experience. I don't know. She talks about studies that have been done on women. I don't know. Have you looked at these studies? What are these studies that she's talking about? Because from what I've seen, there's very few studies done on fasting and women. They're done on men.
I don't know. I don't think she referenced any of them in the post, but the ones on men aren't very promising either and show, I mean, again, even if there is, as you're saying, even if there is weight loss, right?
Yeah.
This is a way to create weight loss, but it's something that comes at a cost, right? It's something that it requires stress, creates stress, puts us into a stress state because we aren't providing the fuel from our diet. So we have to rely on providing that fuel internally, and our bodies view that as a sign of a suboptimal environment where it increases stress hormones in response. And long term, that comes at a major cost. And in the studies, as you said, that are normally on men, you do see lower testosterone, you do see lower active thyroid hormone, lower T3. And you typically don't see actually any weight loss benefit when you compare it to another calorically restricted group as well. And if anything, even if you're seeing about the same weight loss, you see more lean mass loss and less body fat loss. So yeah, I mean, this sounds like a pretty terrible idea when you actually consider what's going on underneath.
Well, I think a lot of women too, and what I found is I was always looking for the easy way. Like keto, fasting, it's like you don't really have to think about it. You just keto, cut all the carbs out of your diet. fasting, you just cut a few meals out and you're not actually digging any deeper and looking at, am I getting enough protein? Am I getting enough of the right nutrients? So, I think what really helped me was finally getting to the point where I was like, I'm just sick of myself. I don't want to take the easy way anymore. I really want to learn and understand my body. And, when I started working with Emma and Craig, something that stuck with me when I started working with Craig was, and I am now with him, is he said, you've got to stop destroying the body that you have with restrictive diets and a ton of cardio and build the body that you want. Build the muscle with real food and strength training. And, I think I was always so focused on doing these crazy ass diets to get as small as possible. Whereas I shifted my focus to actually getting outside and getting more active and strength training and eating more food and giving my body the building blocks that it needed to build muscle and function optimally, so that my hormones could be balanced. And it's just so much better. I'd probably average now 2,700 calories a day, and it's the best. I had my breakfast this morning was sourdough crumpets with butter and raspberry jam and beautiful ripe in-season nectarines, oranges, cherries, coffee with milk and maple syrup and collagen and eggs with Parmesan cheese. It's to not be afraid of food anymore and think, oh my God, I have to starve myself and eat 1,200 calories and I can't go out and eat. I think it's just a quick and easy way to lose weight, and you don't really understand anything about your body and you're not empowered to make decisions around your food and what I can and can't eat. I don't know. I think women, we're always just looking for the quick fix and the easy thing where we don't have to think.
I'm gonna disagree with all you guys though, because losing a pound of brain mass through intermittent fasting isn't too bad. It's not that bad, right?
I think you bring up a really good point, Kitty, because I think for most people, they just want some easy rule of thumb that they can put into place, right? So it's just if I don't have breakfast, I'll lose weight. And instead of creating a whole picture around how to actually intelligently construct a diet to build your body and to protect yourself from stress hormones and from the negative hormonal effects of these things. So it creates this rule of thumb for people that they can just follow instead of having to sit there and understand okay, what foods work for me? What foods do I eat? How do I structure my diet? All of these different types of components. And I think if people had a solution where they're able to see there is actually a way to do this and it isn't that bad, and I can actually still eat and I can eat these good foods, then you get into the circumstance where I think they would choose that instead. But it's just what people see all the time. It's just don't eat breakfast. Just stop eating breakfast or don't have dinner and just have 2 meals a day and just restrict. And it's sure, it has these effects because you're just restricting food in general, but they don't talk about the side effects. And I think that is a huge problem because we all come to this. I think all of us here have done some type of low carb or keto or intermittent fasting or one of these crazy diets. And when you first hear it, it's there's all these benefits. And then you do it, and the first month or so, you feel pretty good because as you said, you're running on these stress hormones. And then what winds up happening is over time, you lost a couple pounds up front, you were feeling good, and then things start going downhill, but you're still shooting for this first week that you had really good results. And then you're saying all these studies, all these doctors, this OBGYN, she can't be wrong. It has to be the best thing ever. And then you don't see this other alternative. And I think Dr. Pete's work and whatnot is where people start to be oh, wait, maybe there is this other idea, or maybe there's this other perspective that actually makes sense. And I don't have to sacrifice my health or sacrifice my food intake, etc., to be at some particular weight or have my liver function well or have my blood lipid levels lower and things along these lines. So I think it's just people get sucked into this because there's all these studies. Although I don't even know where all these studies are that she's talking about with this.
Yeah.
And then it's just a really easy rule of thumb, right? Cut out carbs or skip breakfast or something like that.
And I think sometimes too, maybe what were they eating before they tried the fasting? Maybe they were just eating this dog shit diet. They may have also improved in other parts of their diet and done the fasting. So maybe that was what was giving those positive effects. When people have got digestive issues and then they go keto or carnivore, they're just feeling better because they're reducing a lot of those harder to digest foods, but it's not actually fixing the issue.
Yep. Exactly. Yeah.
And as you're pointing out too, people are looking for a way out, right? They're looking for an easy solution or a solution. And if it's as simple as just don't eat one meal, it's like that is achievable because they don't have the knowledge, awareness that there's actually an option that is sustainable and leads to you feeling good and not cutting out carbohydrates and not cutting out, going on major calorie deficits and whatnot, and not fasting, not needing to skip meals. They don't know that there's another option. And so they're looking for anything that they can do for a short period of time to get to some end result, to lose the next 10 pounds or 20 pounds in 8 weeks or 12 weeks, not recognizing that there are actually ways that support your physiology and lead you to feeling better and can lead to weight loss. If you're looking for guidance in understanding how to create a sustainable diet and lifestyle to lose weight and resolve any other health issues you may be working on, head over to jfeldmanwellness.com/call, where you can sign up for a free call with a member of the J. Feldman Wellness team who can provide you insights on your health issues and make sure you get the support you need on your health journey, whether that's our one-on-one coaching program, our group coaching program, or the do-it-yourself course. So head over to jfeldmanwellness.com/call to sign up for a free call.
And we talk a lot about in our program is this body recomposition. So many women that we work with, they're just, yes, they need to lose body fat. A lot of them have like 40, 45% body fat, but they're under-muscled. And to build muscle, you need calories and you need nutrients. And what I find with the women who follow our process and they only need, you can strength train more, but like most of them just strength train 3 days a week because that's what they can fit in. Then what happens is as they build more muscle and their health improves and their metabolism improves, when they get to this desired body composition, they're eating more food. Like they can eat more food and maintain it. Like sometimes I'm still surprised at how much food I can actually eat. And going through this process, I think, yes, it's difficult at the start because you're trying to learn about your body and tracking and understanding food and all of the different things that we speak about. But in time, it gets easier. And then you can be more intuitive. Like this week, I haven't tracked my food because we've just been busy, but I still eat the same breakfast. I know I can look at a meal at night. I had this roast chicken leg, 2 slices of Jarlsberg cheese, some air fried potato chips, and I had ice cream. I know roughly how much I need and I can listen to my body and know that I'm getting enough protein. So I think, sometimes women can be a bit scared about this process, like, oh, it's hard work and I've got to learn, but it will really set you free, I think, long term. And you've just got to think about that and where it is that you want to be and the health that you want to have and the body that you want to have, and that you just want to eat delicious food and not feel scared that you're going to eat this food and then gain 10 kilos.
I think the sustainability piece is actually something that's a really important point, because a lot of these different diets aren't sustainable. Like after you run through a year of keto, most people are like, I don't want to continue doing keto or carnivore or the fasting stuff. It's like, and then the other problem is that these diets get more and more and more and more restrictive. So you start circling downwards with the foods that you can eat, and you have to keep lowering carbs, or you have to increase how long you're fasting. So it goes from just skipping breakfast to now you have a 4-hour window to now you're doing 3-hour fast. And then those things like inherently are unsustainable in the long term. So the real solution is figuring out how to set up the diet appropriately and intelligently, and not just look for the easy way out, as you said in the beginning. And then the kicker with all of this, though, is that once you get the diet stabilized, at least for me, once I had my diet stabilized and I understood, this is what my intake's going to be, this is how much protein I'm going to need based on my weight, this is the carbs, this is the fat intake, and then I figured out what foods work for me, I just run it. Like it's on autopilot. I don't have to think about it. I know when I go out to a restaurant, I know when I'm traveling, like what I can eat on a regular basis that's going to get the job done for what I need and for what I like. And that's the other thing too, is like you can set up meals and you can set up recipes and you can do things that you like. So it doesn't have to be this like really bland, restrictive, boring diet. A lot of times when I'm working with a client, I'll be organizing a meal. It's like, so what do you actually like to eat for breakfast? Okay, let's make that meal. Let's make it work. Let's tweak it so that it's appropriate for what your intake is, what your requirement is. And then basically, if that's what works, okay, good. Now you have 1, 2, 3 breakfast options. Just maybe rotate through them and then go from there. So it becomes very sustainable and it becomes very easy to follow. It's just that initial activation energy, that initial period of time of learning. and that becomes difficult. And then you get consistency after that. So, and the other thing I think all the time is like, imagine if we just had these ideas around food and diet and we grew up with them. Then this wouldn't even be hard. This wouldn't even be a question because people would have already had this ingrained. It's just that we have all these weird ideas around food and diet that I think most of us actually had probably relatively normal ideas, and then we hit like puberty or we start worrying about our weight, and then we get these weird ideas, and then you kind of have to come full circle. Like I was having this conversation the other day with somebody where it's like I started out from paleo with low carb, and then basically where I got back to was I didn't really do super hot with dairy personally. So then I just wound up going to that diet with like adequate proteins and meats and things like this, and then adding in different carb sources that I did well with. But I went like this huge circle into all these different dietary iterations to get back to that. And like the diet I run now is relatively similar in many capacities to what I was already doing with what my parents would do for meals or things like that as I was growing up. So I think if we just had that setup from when we grew up and we had some better understanding, most people wouldn't have this huge learning curve. And then once you get over the learning curve, it's really not that bad. It is very sustainable and consistent.
It's interesting what you said about like what you did when you were younger, because I remember when I did my consults with Emma and I said to her, I'm like, oh, this is just sort of like how my grandma used to feed me. So she's dead now, but I'd go to her house and she'd squeeze oranges every morning, give us fresh juice. We'd have like eggs cooked in butter. There was this thing of butter that she would keep on the bench out of the fridge in this little glass container. She'd have these pawpaw trees. She'd cut up pour the orange juice over. She'd make her own bread. She would cook a lot of like roast meats with like parsnip, potatoes, I never remember us ever having heaps of green vegetables. Sometimes she would do Brussels sprouts, but they were cooked in like bacon fat. And like that was just salty and delicious. She'd make ice cream. She'd make custard. The milk would get delivered in the milk, the glass milk bottles with the little tops. Custard. I remember she did a lot of custard. Oh, and she'd make like kidney steak and kidney for it used to smell disgusting, and this parsley sauce on toast with butter. Just all steak and kidney pies. I just never remember. Like she made cakes with flour and butter and sugar, and you just have a slice of cake. It wasn't like you'd eat the whole. You know what I mean? And I was like, this is exactly how. Oh, and we'd eat a lot of seafood too because they had a boat, so we'd go out crabbing, oysters. They loved oysters. Just all the foods that we prioritize now. And I was talking to a client actually yesterday because she's doing our 7-day challenge. And we were talking about the green vegetables and the nuts and seeds. And I said, look, I'm not saying that these foods are inherently bad. There's no inherently bad or good foods. It's just that I think the fitness industry teaches women that these foods are really healthy and you should eat a lot of them to be healthy. And I said, it's not that I'm saying don't ever eat them, but eat less and cook them well and prepare them so your body can digest them. So the issue is that most women that I work with, and I did the same thing, is a good healthy meal for me was a lean chicken breast with a green salad. I'd say it's not that you can't eat the salad. I said, have your protein, have a good carbohydrate source, maybe some fruit or potato or rice or whatever you enjoy that works for you. And then if you want to have your salad, just have it on the side. It's a side salad. It's not the main component of the meal. It doesn't contain any energy. It's hard to digest. So it's not saying that it's, and then it comes back to your personal preference and how well you can digest foods. Because, like some women come in and they're fine. And they might need to reduce them for a while and then they can add them back in as things improve and the digestion gets better. But I just found personally for me, because I used to eat, my diet was crazy, eh? So for dinner, I would have just smash the farm salmon and I'd have big plates of cabbage with lots of salt, steamed vegetables. And then I'd eat the diet jelly afterwards for dessert. And so many women just do this same thing. And I was farting and I was gassy and I was hungry. And it's just, I found naturally I just don't, I used to think that I crave those things. But now it's not that I try purposely not to eat lots of green. I just don't like them. My body's just not, sometimes I'll feel like yesterday, or on the weekend, I made this beautiful salad with bocconcini and heaps of fresh basil and watermelon. Or sometimes, I feel like some nice spinach with breakfast, but I cook it and I have butter. It's interesting how naturally I've just felt I've come away from wanting to eat those foods. Does that make sense? I don't know if you guys felt the same.
Yeah.
I remember when Jay and I were in college together, we were like boiling up pounds of kale and broccoli and spinach. And then you would have to have like tons of green vegetables with every meal. So it'd be like ground beef and broccoli and spinach and sardines and broccoli and spinach. And then basically it was just a medium to get butter because it's keto and paleo. So you could have butter and you can have fat. So it's like how much olive oil and butter could you get inside your greens? And it was just, there was a vehicle to get them. But like besides that, it wasn't, it. And then once when we moved over, we shifted more towards the bioenergetic perspective. The diet became more centered around fruits and like actually eating things that were really providing us adequate carbohydrate and things along these lines.